Having all these candles, so I'll start while Jacob's lighting a candle, but let's go to our Advent wreath, because this is always a beautiful way to start. You remember, Advent means coming, and it's always the season before Christmas. And there's 4 weeks in which we study the first coming of Jesus, which happened 2,000 years ago when he came as a little baby. And we talk about the second coming of the Lord, when he's going to come in judgment and he's going to initiate eternity. And it's a beautiful time of the year. We have these very, very wonderful traditions, and the Advent wreath is one of them. You notice that we have 3 purple candles, and the purple reminds us of royalty, who this Jesus is. He's not just a prophet. He's not just a guru. This is the Son of God himself. The pink is a combination of the purple and the white, the purity and the royalty. And what does Jesus coming produce? It produces joy. Of course, the white is the candle for Christ, and it represents his purity. Now, the first week of Advent, we remember all of the Old Testament prophecies, and that reminds us the consistency of God's plan. There wasn't a moment after the fall into sin that God didn't say, I'm going to provide you with hope. I'm going to provide you with a Savior. The second candle, which will get lit in a bit, the second candle reminds us of Bethlehem, the place where the whole plan of God began, where Jesus was born. And the third candle is the shepherd candle. And the shepherd candle is a color of joy, of happiness. And when you think of the shepherds, isn't that what you think of when you remember that Luke story? The angels, they appear to the men out in the fields. And what's their reaction? Do they sit there in their fields and say, you know, that was pretty neat? No, they go to Bethlehem. They see what the angels told them. They find everything was just as they were told. And then when they go back, they're like a guy whose wife has just had their first child. You know how guys, they're giving cigars to everybody. Hey, my wife had a child. That's the way those shepherds were. They couldn't keep it to themselves what they had seen, what it meant to them. Now today our theme is all I want for Christmas is something to be happy about. And Christmas is a time that brings happiness. Now, it's not the kind of happiness that that our society thinks about. That kind of happiness that, people will say, well, to be happy, I got to have this kind of car, I got to have this kind of job, or whatever it might be. That kind of happiness is usually a selfish happiness. It's based on getting the things that I want, regardless of what that means to other people. That's not the biblical form of happiness. The happiness that Jesus Christ offers us is something that transcends. It goes beyond circumstances. It enables an individual to be truly happy, to be truly joyful, even when the world is falling apart. And that's what we need. That's what we're looking for. Now, our first hymn this morning is a great way to start. It's number 19, and the title is, O Lord, How Shall We Meet You? And it reminds us that when we go to the Lord, it's not us telling him what he's going to do for us, but what he is going, or rather how he wants us to come to him in humility. Let's begin with hymn number 19.